Corn output in Zimbabwe will drop by almost 3/4 this year. That's as the nation experiences its worst drought in 4 decades. The El Nino weather phenomenon has triggered a dry spell in southern Africa that slashed South Africa's corn crop by at least a fifth and left countries including Malawi, Zambia and Zimbabwe to declare states of national disaster because of the crop failures. Zimbabwean grain millers plan to import at least 1.4 million tons of corn by July to address the shortfall.
Well, in the meantime, what does this mean for food security in the region amid an inflation rate of 57.5%? Fungisai Sithole from the Friedrich Naumann Foundation in Zimbabwe joins us with her analysis. Thank you so much for your time, Fungisai. Now, the last time I heard a state of national disaster was during COVID. I do understand that Zimbabwe is one of the countries that has declared a state of national disaster because of the crop shortage. What message is this signaling and what impact does that action have?
Thank you very much and good afternoon to viewers and listeners. Yes, Zimbabwe has declared a state of national disaster, and the president has called for resources amounting to about $2 billion. So clearly, we are in a situation where we cannot feed our own people. And remember, Zimbabwe is an agro-based economy where most of our people actually rely on agriculture for livelihood and for survival. And it is important to note that 60%, that's what official statistics say, live in the rural areas. And these are subsistence farmers, the smallholder farmers that are able to farm and feed themselves. And with the drought, the El Nino-induced drought of this year, it means the majority of Zimbabweans cannot feed themselves. And the statistics are quite varied. They range between 3 to 6 million Zimbabweans being food insecure, depending on where you are looking at the whole situation from. So we are in a crisis, and most of the people are struggling to make 3 meals a day. And this is expected because 60% of our crops, actually, the corn, the maize, has completely failed. Sure. And the little 40% is in a very poor state. So this means we are in a situation where most of our fellow Zimbabweans are going to go hungry. Food distribution has begun already in some provinces, especially those in Matebele North and Matebele South, which were heavily affected. So there are no prospects for us to feed ourselves, and the government already is looking at importing more than 450 metric tons of maize.
Let's talk about those plans for importation, because of course that comes with its own dynamics there. These are soft commodities, which means that the importation of it comes with certain consequences for currency, as well as just the overall cost of living along with the importation will be imported inflation. Actually, Fungisai, what does that tell us about that picture in terms of food price inflation?
Yes. We have already begun witnessing the price increases, especially even on our maize. And there are also sporadic shortages that we are already witnessing. And the government has already put in place duty-free importation of maize for households, at least beginning July this year. And for our grain millers who are to import the maize, I think this naturally means it's an increase in there's an increase in the cost that they are going to incur in bringing the maize to us. And with this increase, it means it will also be fed onto us as the consumers, which means also we expect our maize to go up. And it is our staple food. And in every household, it's actually one of their must-haves. And with such an increase, and in an economy that is still in intensive care, it also means that many Zimbabweans are going to struggle. Many Zimbabweans are going to continue to be food insecure for the bigger part of the year.
Talk to me about the options here, particularly with imports, because in the region, Zambia and South Africa are key exporters of maize, but Zambia has already also declared its own state of national disaster. And in South Africa also, our crop has been reduced because of the El Nino weather conditions. So, of course, this move now to get imports from Brazil has Brazil been able to help? How much can they help?
I'm not really sure about how much Brazil has helped so far, but what I know is that at least Russia has come in, though, with just a little, meager tons really of maize in support of the challenges that Zimbabwe is facing at the moment. So, and Zambia also being in a situation similar to ours, it means we won't expect much. And we will expect South Africa really to come in there and support us even more. But we also know that South Africa is not going to reach the levels that it normally reaches in a normal rainfall, situation. So we need to explore further and look further to some of our friends to see if we can be able really to get more from this. But this also requires, or it eats away from the little resources that we have as a nation.
Fungisai, often when we see matters such as these, multilaterals such as the IMF, World Bank, they come in also with aid and assistance. Any word on that? Maybe even speaking to the broader relationship that the Zimbabwean government may have with such organizations.
First, I'll start with the UN. The UN has already pledged support in the mobilization of the required funds. Remember, after the president's call, they have pledged to support our efforts in raising those funds. But what I can speak of is that also, in the meantime, 5 million has been dispersed under the EU also, but this one actually covers many other issues, including food, health, and water. I know there are many international organizations that are on the ground. For example, the Food Agriculture Organization, it's working with the government in developing the El Nino mitigation strategy already. We have other organizations like the World Food Program, which is already on the ground in the region of Matabeleland North and Matabeleland South. So yes, there are steps being taken. And remember, this is not new. And that's why you find most of these organizations already on the ground. For the past 20 years, we have been going through these cycles of shock, recovery, shock. And we have always had the support of these international institutions. That's why some are already present and providing the necessary support. But with regards to the specific request called by the president of $2 billion yet, mobilization is still underway. I'm not privy to any information if there have been any successes yet.
Are there any worries then about the balance sheet of the company? Because, of course, calling on resources worth $2 billion is a lot of money. Of course, there is support, but there really does need to be mobilization of those funds. Just talk to me about that, the outlook for that balance sheet. And, of course, if there's a significant worry, time to panic about the strain on that.
Yes, one would be concerned because we as Zimbabweans have been living under the impression that we were going to be self-sufficient for at least the whole year, the coming year, the whole year. And apparently it looks like that is not the case, because if we are looking for 2 billion, it really shows that we are in serious distress. And my concern basically on the 2 billion is that the issues around accountability as Zimbabwe, the issues around the politicization of food aid are things that we need to look out for to make sure that at the end of the day, the help that we get in whatever form and nature, it goes to those people that are really vulnerable and deserve such help.
Well, thank you so much, Fungisai, for speaking to us this afternoon. It's been a pleasure hearing from you and hoping that when we catch up soon, this will have a better story. That was Fungisai Sithole from the Friedrich Naumann Foundation in Zimbabwe.